Marysol, how you doing? It's good to have you back on the podcast.
I'm doing great, Adam. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. And yeah, I just thought because we had like a few topics in mind, so we was just talking about how the body can kind of how we can heal ourselves and like gratitude and kind of situation in LA with like the homeless kind of problem in a minute. But I just kind of thought start off talking about how we can kind of heal ourselves, you know, through kind of tapping into certain parts of ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can talk about so many different topics, and you're the boss.
Yeah, because you mentioned that you had an accident like a year ago, and is it like you're only just kind of experiencing that pain like now?
Right. So at first, the accident, to give a little backstory, it was a hit to the rear left of my car in a downtown area of a very populated city here in LA. And the car was going, I want to say 40 miles an hour. And I noticed in my rear view mirror that he wasn't slowing down. So my instinct was to swerve to the left so he would hit me with less of an impact. I actually had a passenger in my car. So, um, I wanted to think of the most safe thing to do in that split second of a quick reaction. And so I did swerve to the left to where there's a partition in the middle of the street for cars wanting to turn left. And so as I swerved, I, of course, was also hitting the brakes. And the way the car hit me was in such a way where, hadn't I not hit the brakes or hit the brakes at an off time, I would have actually hit the cars of the oncoming traffic, which in essence, I would have been sandwiched right in the middle between the two cars, one in front of me and one would have been behind me. So it was definitely pretty daunting of an experience. At first, we did do sort of the initial whiplash thing where you go to the front and then come back. So there was some neck involvement, back involvement, but to my surprise, I never thought that I would experience the aftermath of foot involvement also, but it makes a lot of sense as to why that occurred. I had my foot initially on the gas pedal, and, and I, of course, had to switch it to the brake pedal. And as I was explaining to you, you could either brake in one of two ways. You either completely remove your foot, which is the appropriate way, remove your foot from one pedal and hit the next, or you can simply swivel your ankle to the next pedal, which is what I did. I did it the inappropriate way, which actually translates to, in the long term, what it did to me was it became more so of an effect of a sprained ankle. Now, so it's not that it wasn't a sports injury where this just happened that I hit my ankle. This was from the car accident that happened about a year ago. And I'm barely experiencing the aftermath now, as you mentioned. At first, it was back pain. But now that the back pain's sort of been taken care of, I've gone to a professional experienced in pain management. So that doctor has treated me with injectable steroids. I've had that treatment. I've had acupuncture. I could name a list of interventions, physical therapy, all targeting my back. But my good friend from yesterday, we found out that No, well, actually, my pain is coming from my ankle, which has not been addressed until yesterday. So that just goes to show, like, if you have an injury, maybe it's not so much the first site of complaint where you have the problem. Oftentimes, the root cause can be somewhere else, and that's something that needs to be explored.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, isn't it? Like you said, that you had that accident, he's involved in that collision, and you've been experiencing this pain, like a year later, and we can, which are very lucky to, to be, not, alive still, from as well. But I mean, that we can kind of experience pain, later on, and like I said, you might think, oh, it's my ankle, but then it might actually be, another part of the body, or it might be, the main issue may be somewhere else, like the whole diagnosis of it all.
Yes, so you need to explore whether it's physical or emotional pain. In terms of emotional pain, that's a huge reason why, psychologists want to dig to your past. Maybe it could be a childhood upbringing and unresolved trauma, etc. But yes, in terms of my physical pain, now we're tackling the ankle in the hopes and following the nerve roots and the muscle groups up through the right foot and into the hip and lower back to eventually, hopefully, finally solve my problem.
Wow. So this is like, so this just kind of happened like recently after a year. It's not being like continuous, like a little bit.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct. It crept up on me, and it's super frustrating because I could be at work where I stand a lot, and that's actually made me feel worse, I want to
Hmm.
say. I've got to take some extra days off to recover. I'm taking measures for this to not get any worse. I recently bought an ankle, it's like a sleeve to put on not just the right ankle, but my left one also, because my friend with background in sports injuries, he told me, well, the left foot, it's compensating for the right, so you need to take care of that one too. So as a prevention, I'm also taking care of the left ankle. And reason being because we've noticed that it's very weak. When I stand, when I walk, it kind of wobbles a bit. And since I'm barely finding time to work out, which I noticed it sounds like an excuse when you say it out loud, I have to make time to work out. That has to be a priority now because I need to strengthen my ankle. So it kind of goes to say that you need to take charge of your own healing process, because if you don't care, you keep going to specialists weeks, months apart, they're going to keep saying, well, you've got a problem, come back to me next month. They could tell you, oh, you need to do XYZ, but if you don't follow up with that homework, it's just going to get worse. And you're going to end up spending a whole bunch of money to something that, if continuously treated every day, you have the potential to heal yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think like we have the potential to heal ourselves. If we kind of choose, to get better, and those kind of like beliefs that we have around it, isn't it? Like, you hear stories where I heard, like, is it Kevin Hart? He had that car accident, and the guy said, you're inches away from being paralyzed. And
Wow.
luckily, because of his frame and his build and kind of, he works out, the impact, that kind of muscle we had just gave him that advantage. I remember him saying, like, he was in lots of pain. The doctors advised him not to work out, not to do X, Y, Z, but he chose to anyway. And I think that helped even more, because I think if the crazy thing is, it's that trauma of it as well, isn't it? Of when you have probably that accident, let's say the
Right.
car, your body
Right.
kind of probably, I don't know the ins and outs, but the body almost suppresses that pain and kind of like looks after you, and then it catches up with you later on. I remember when I had my accident, I had like, over time, a pain in my back and my lower back where I kind of fell down. But when it happened, I couldn't feel anything, which is crazy.
So for your listeners who's listening to me for the first time, I'm a registered nurse studying to become a nurse practitioner. And as clinicians, it's funny you mentioned, we can tell patients to rest, like don't work out, actually give it a couple of days to heal, when sometimes, like you mentioned, Kevin Hart worked out anyway, like he went against that advice, which ended up being beneficial to him in the long run, is what you're saying, correct?
Yeah. I mean, he just did like small exercises, and he said he was in pain. Because I remember like Joe Rogan was talking about it. He was saying some comedian went to go and see him, and he was like, it's crazy. He's walking around and open, like, like nothing's happened, like a day or two afterwards. But he said that when he was in pain, but he said he knew he wanted to appear to be, strong and okay to his friends and family. Plus, he didn't want to be sat, not doing anything, He said he kind of just like, small movements with his toe or his feet or his hands, or, little tiny things, just to kind of get his muscles
Yes.
working.
I definitely believe that time heals, but also movement heals. And initially, yes, you should rest that muscle group, but later the recommendation is actually to use that muscle group so that it becomes stronger again, and that your skeletal muscles surrounding bone, so that it protects and strengthens the bone. So the more you work out, the better it is for your peripheral muscles, and finally to strengthen that bone and keep it in place. An analogy I could think of is a brand new tree.
Mm.
Sometimes if it has a weak foundation, you kind of put a stick next to it so that it doesn't wobble to the side. Well, that's kind of what the function of casts do. They want to stabilize the joint and the healing bone as it remodels. So yes, first would be rest, but next, once the cast is off, etc., you got to use it again, or else, like the saying goes, you use it, you lose it. The muscles can atrophy, they could weaken, and again, you're more susceptible to a sprain or a fracture.
Mm. It's that fine balance, isn't it? Probably like not doing too much, but still kind of like, doing what you can, isn't it? It's like, is it like people say, if they're in a wheelchair or something, they have to kind of like learn to walk again. They have to do that physiotherapy where they, they're
Right.
walking on those
Baby steps
frames.
all over again.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of rehabilitation at first. Yes, it will be difficult,
Mm.
but if you fast forward a year, 2 years, you'll be often at a much stronger place than you were prior to the injury, because you've built that habit of working out and strengthening your body.
Mm. Yeah, no, exactly. It is definitely amazing, like the power of our minds, the power of our bodies, and how we, can prepare ourselves. Um, I mean, when I had a bike accident, I smashed my kneecap, and I had a big like wound, got infected. To cut a long story short, I had to have it bandaged and stuff like that on my kneecap, and I kind of my kind of body got used to, being aware of not to kind of stretch my leg, to move it in a certain way. So when it healed up and it was okay, it felt weird to kind of, not walk how I probably used to walk, or things like that. And I think we kind of get built into these habits, don't we, as well? Even like with our posture and our back, and I think how we sit and how we lay down, and all of these different things, to be mindful of.
Yeah, exactly. The healthiest is to sleep on our backs, but who does that, right?
Mm,
It's healthier to practice the upright position for your posture than to slouch. We all know that, but do we practice it? Not so much, right?
mm,
But I think it takes, like in my case, an accident to realize that I have weak ankles and weak wrists, and that I need to work it out so
mm,
that the um, the muscles surrounding the wrist strengthen.
mm,
Constant cracking can be a sign of the same, like lack of collagen, lack of strength,
mm,
and you need to eat foods that will accordingly nourish those tissues and give you the strength that you need.
mm. Yeah, no, it's all kind of interlinks, doesn't it? You think like your mental health, your physical health, your diet, these exercises, even like a little bit of exercise, it kind of helps, doesn't it? A bit of something, and that's kind of like the first step, isn't it?
Right. Another good friend who I've gone to who does acupuncture, she recommends, start light, start with Qigong, for example.
Mm,
Qigong is an Oriental practice to sort of use the energy that's available in the universe and trigger it to align with your own body's energy.
mm,
So these are these graceful movements, slow and foundational movements to kind of capture this energy. And it's amazing. You just envelop yourself into a realm of positivity and light.
mm. I think that's a really good point as well. Like, connecting with your energy as well, isn't it? Because I think, like you said, um, like stress is going to probably be a trigger for people and their pain and how they're feeling in their body. And I think, like you said, it's that kind of like your emotions or your unresolved, suppressed emotions. Kind of manifest them. So I'm not like a specialist, but from what I've learned is that they can kind of be suppressed in your body and come out as other different health issues.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a saying, what you think is what you become.
Mm,
If you think more so gratitude, positivity, light, love, I would say it would have a huge impact on your physical health and well being
mm,
versus a circle of sadness, self doubt, weak self confidence. That can ultimately lead to the downward spiral of depression, which we all don't want, and anxiety, something you want to stay away from. But of course, there's actually eustress, there's good stress.
mm,
This is the kind of stress that you get before an exam because you care. If you wouldn't care, you wouldn't feel stressed.
mm,
So you kind of got to notice the difference between the types of stress, if it's inhibiting your activities of daily living, if you're constantly obsessing about a particular thought. These are all things you should make note of and be aware of. Maybe you want to journal, have a little diary, because we have like 95% of the same thoughts we had yesterday. So we need to read books, podcasts,
mm,
exercise our brain so that we get away from that statistic and improve ourselves day by day.
mm. Yeah, no, I think that's a really great point, and I think especially now with kind of how society is now, and since the pandemic probably as well, not focusing on the news too much. I mean, okay, glance at it or probably look at it, but don't religiously watch it for long periods of time or first thing in the morning, isn't it? And these kind of things all add up, don't they? If you think about it, as you were saying.
Huge point. That's a very huge point because, as I said, And media does this too. We're actually hearing about COVID every day. They bring it up every day. We know it's here. We know it's not going away tomorrow. Of course, we're going to constantly be reminded of it, but why not start your day on a different note? Why not play your favorite music, dance a bit, do your habitual prayer? If you're into meditation, whatever the case may be, you should nurture your body and soul first before expending your energy on those other things, solidifying those same thoughts. Why not use your energy to grow, to connect with your loved ones, your family and friends, and maybe make plans for the future? Obviously, we are stuck in this obstacle, this pandemic, but making plans for the future when the time comes, you'll be great. You'll already be in tune with your friends and those plans, and it'll just come to fruition in a manner that you dreamed of. And I think you'll enjoy it that much more, your experiences.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, like, so in amongst everything that's happening, we kind of ultimately have a choice, don't we? How we kind of want to be, how we want to focus, what we want to focus on, and why not, plan, like I said, plan the future. The things that you want to be doing. Progressing, doing new things, and learning, and kind of being, a better version of yourself, isn't it? Because, like you said, we have this time. Probably people have a lot more time on their hands now, probably. Lot more thinking time as well. I think this year's been a lot of perspective shifts and energy shifts. Especially. So I think why not grow and do something rather than people just say, "Oh, I just watch Netflix for the past I don't know however long or whatever," which is fine in some amount, but if that's all you're doing, then that's not healthy.
Exactly. Let's think about the producers of the shows on Netflix. They do it because it's their job. We all spend time in our jobs. If you're not in your job, you're in someone else's job, whether it's a facility, a restaurant, etc. So how much time do you want to spend on someone else's job? What if Netflix was an actual place that you went to? Do you want to work there? It's like, okay, dude, you've been here for 5-6 hours. Are you going to go now?
Yeah.
So remember to social distance from virtual things too, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it for your mind.
Yeah.
Let's choose better. Let's choose books, podcasts, things to make you better, because we only have one body, and why not feed it to what your brain needs to grow, what your muscles need to develop, so that you do develop kind of these better postures, habits, etc.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think, you kind of want to kind of see yourself, because like when you do those things as well, you feel the benefits. And I think people could sometimes probably get into ruts or habits of doing things in a certain way. But, when you start doing those new habits, you feel those benefits and you want to do more of that. It's like if you exercise, you want to do more of it. But, anything new can be difficult, can't it? It's difficult starting out. But once you're just doing it, you get into the rhythm of it, it's a lot easier. I was just thinking as well, like we mentioned, because like where you're situated, there's that kind of homeless issue. Like, do you? So I was listening to a podcast and I was talking about it, and I was trying to say, what's the solution? And both people are like, well, we don't know, we can't think of a solution to it. Like where do you think is the best place to kind of start? What would you say? I mean, you can't. I know some people don't want. I mean, do you think they need housing, certain kind of housing? I mean, I think there's probably always going to be a homeless issue, but I mean, how can it kind of be like kind of resolved? And do you know what I mean? How can it? Put into words. how can that situation be made easier, if that makes sense?
Right. So this is a question that's constantly been asked for years, really. Um, I don't have the answer,
Yeah.
but I do say that I'm doing my part now to address the situation at hand. And I think that's what's expected for everyone. You know, show up to your job and just do your best. You can't
Mm.
really ask for much else.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think those people in that situation is difficult because they're probably not got the best of health, and they're mixed with people who might not be healthy either. And I
Hmm.
think it's kind of great that kind of like where you work in your situation, that you can kind of provide kind of space for them. If that makes sense, or like you kind of assist them if they're not well.
Yeah. So it's currently being done for those homeless individuals who have completed their quarantine, their isolation period of currently 10 days. We do connect them to a bridge housing program, which then that other program tries to find a more permanent solution for these individuals.
Mm.
So we deal with the short-term housing, and those other companies deal with the long-term housing.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's it. I think they just kind of need that chance, don't they? That support and that rehabilitation, and that little bridge. Just kind of probably get them on track or get them away from those kind of like whatever they're involved in. Because I think it's a bit of a trap, isn't it? If they're around certain people, they're going to stay in that group. They want to, people want a sense of belonging as well, don't they? So if they've made friends, they might be harder for them to probably get out of that,
Yeah,
situation. So it's
that's a
it's
good point.
tricky.
You are the average of the 5 people you hang around with, and why not surround yourself with people who want to get out of that atmosphere, who want to get a job,
Mm,
and but it takes work. You have to
mm,
go against those thoughts that you've constantly had over and over again. You need to break free from these
mm,
routines and create new ones, and that takes a lot of courage. It's not easy.
mm,
You need to confront what you really want and just go after it.
mm, mm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I was thinking as well, like how this is like a different topic, but how it's important to push out your comfort zones. Like, would you say it's something that we should do? I know we've all got comfort zones in life, but I think by pushing out your comfort zones is how you grow, isn't it? Like like you've been to university and you've done these courses, and you're
Certainly, you
doing
should.
nursing.
Yeah. I do think it's important to expose yourself to new ideas, new situations, challenge yourself. Maybe, you read a book a month. Why not a book a week? And then
Mm,
soon a book a day, even.
mm,
Um, Even if it's like excerpts here and there, it'll all add up 15
mm,
minutes here, 15 there. Next thing you know, you have gained new knowledge of someone who took years, maybe to write this one book. But they're
mm,
experts in that field. You're going to take in that expertise in a matter of hours.
mm,
So I think that's why it's important to, read, constantly seek to be better, and surround
mm,
yourself with like-minded people who are pushing forward in their lives to want to be better as well.
mm. Yeah, no, they're really good points, and I think as well, like when you're around people like that, you kind of, I don't know, you kind of naturally just think about what you're doing, and you're like, oh, maybe I should be doing that, or why, if they're doing it, then why can't I do it, kind of thing. I think it's a lot of your perspective, isn't it, which is a big thing as well, like the way you can kind of like look at the world and things. Because I think especially if someone's playing if someone feels like a victim, they might be thinking, "Oh, well, I can't do that." It's like, well, you can. It's that flip of a switch almost, isn't it?
Yeah. If you say you can't, then you won't. If
Mm,
you say you can, then at least you'll try. And in that attempt, Maybe you start for 5 minutes. It'll end up being 10.
Mm,
Easily, it could be 15. And you just add up and it adds up and
mm,
you can surprise yourself. And in surprising yourself, you'll want to do that again. And
mm,
but that all happens if we spend less time on our phones, more time innovating, more time on things that we see greater value in,
mm.
that we see, okay, I could use this for my job to be better in what I do. And the list goes on.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And like, would you say? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot with this, but just thinking of it now. Um, like this kind of year, what would you say your kind of like takeaways are from this year? If that makes sense.
Good
If
question.
there's,
Takeaways from this year. So I would say that I got the huge benefit of flipping an unfortunate situation, which for me was sleeping on the floor in my garage.
mm,
So months of that maybe made me realize the gratitude, the importance of practicing gratitude,
mm,
and also the importance of valuing your family.
mm,
I just value them to a whole other level because I spent days not seeing them. Talking over the phone isn't the same. I'm used to being around them, in
mm,
the same room often, and it was like a homesick experience living in the same home, but having these
mm.
restrictions, these distances. It was pretty heartbreaking, but so yes, valuing your current living situation, practicing gratitude of your family,
Mm.
of all the blessings that you have currently in your life. And also, it's made me slow down and
Mm.
again appreciate the little things because we can get into a routine of monotony, really. If you have work, if you have school, then that's kind of all you do. Well, this pandemic helped me break through that routine and do more of the things that I enjoy, whether
Mm.
it's reading a bit longer, watching motivational, inspirational, true life stories a bit longer.
Mm.
And so, so slowing down, appreciating your atmosphere and the people you value most.
No, that's great. I think that's great, and I think like it's good that you've taken those things away from this year because I think they're definitely key kind of principles. Kind of like in life, aren't they? And it's almost like until you kind of stop and think about it, and you kind of like you said, put yourself into that situation where you might have to sleep on the floor on a blanket, on a bed or something on the floor, and you know not seeing your family as much and making that effort and just realizing these things that they're all important. And like you said, especially gratitude, like looking at what you have. And like you said, sometimes we can kind of get monotonous or caught up in those loops of kind of taking things for granted. I don't know, like because we just get so used to it. And so you're looking at that, the things that are important and valuing them, for having them. Because like you said, there is someone out there who's homeless who hasn't got a proper bed to sleep in, roof over their head. Some people may not even have a family, so it's there's a lot of things that we have to be grateful for, isn't there, as well.
Right. And in that gratitude, we could find a lot of peace and
Mm,
happiness.
mm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's definitely something that I've taken away from this year, like gratitude as well. Gratitude, patience, kind of. I think patience, is something that it's a daily thing that I have to tackle, because I feel like I have a lot of energy and I want to get the ball rolling. So I kind of always check in myself and be like, look, it takes time. Um, but like, patience, gratitude, gratitude's key, isn't it? I think I saw like an article and it said people who do gratitude lists and have gratitude, feel more content and relaxed, and it almost, I think it changes I don't know, the deep side of it, but changes how the kind of how your brain works or something like that, because you're more kind of thankful in the moment.
Yes, you're definitely less likely to be depressed and fall into that sort of downward spiral. So I recommend that to everyone.
Yeah. No, it's quite powerful, isn't it, when you think about it and you kind of peel back those layers almost.
Yes. What is something that you do to try to ground yourself and keep the peace?
That's a good question. What do I do? I exercise. I tend to, I work out. So I do like press ups and things, or go for walks. So that helps. Reading. And I would say.
So in the going for walks, how do you feel if you don't go for walks in a day versus when you do? Do you notice a difference?
Yeah. I feel kind of claustrophobic. I don't know. I feel like I need to get out.
Yeah. So imagine you knowing that that's good for you, but not doing it over and over again. You're depriving your body of something beautiful, of something that refuels you, and you don't even know it, which are the effects of nature. Nature is super grounding. If you were to take off your shoes and socks and just stand on the grass, on the dirt, you're going to experience something, this change in your body that's so subtle, you probably won't even think of it, but the effects, the afterward effects, could be better productivity, better sleep, better mood, and that just truly affects you in a more positive way. The benefits certainly outweigh you getting dirty. What's that risk compared to the benefits that you're
yeah.
Right? Yeah, so don't be afraid. Like, go to the beach, walk on the sand, check out the water, the waves. I think that's very therapeutic. People, oftentimes, even I take advantage of take for granted my own backyard.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's so important, isn't it? To kind of,
like Florence Nightingale, one of the female founders of nursing, she realized the little things in the battlefield of soldiers fighting in war, that they need clean and sanitary measures to get better. You can't have, for example, a room that's messy and expect to be organized and super productive. I think organization can really influence your productivity and even the way you feel. So similarly, we should stick with the habits that are good for us, with the little chores that we learned as kids that maybe you brushed off as unimportant. They actually do kind of translate into other areas of your life. Now, there's also the argument of, well, I try to be perfect in all these other areas of my life. I think not making my bed can pass. Well, there's a Navy SEAL who suggests otherwise. Like, he suggests you can start on the right foot by doing your bed, and then it'll be a trickle down effect of you doing more productive things in your day as a result. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely important. I mean, I'm just looking over my bed now.
It's actually made. It's semi-made. I give you a pass.
Yeah, it's made. It's just a little fold there, but it's made. But I definitely feel a difference if if I don't do that. If I get up, I go around and I just kind of make it, but do you know what I mean? I kind of make sure it's neat and it's okay. Like when I get up, and I feel like if I don't, then I might get something and put it on the side, and then I'm doing something, I get something else put on the side, and then before you know it, there's like 20 things here, there, and there, and then
Right.
my mindset is a bit like a pinball. Whereas if it's neat and it's okay, you have a bit more clarity, if that makes sense. I mean, I remember
Right.
when I was going to join the military, I did some courses with the army, and they are pretty to the point and strict, and they do those hospital fold cold curtains.
Right. We were taught that in nursing school. Yeah, that's how we make the beds in the hospital.
Yeah, and after like a week or so, I just felt like a different person because you're more mindful. You feel more sharper. If that makes sense.
Yes, it certainly does. And at first, it's like a chore, right? You don't feel like doing it. But later, once you find value in it, you practice it, and it's actually good for you. You feel the effects. So good job, Adam, for leading by example right there.
Yeah. No, I try.
All right.
That's it. But I mean, I think like you said, it's important, isn't it? And I noticed that, like if you have less of things as well, you have more kind of like headspace as well. Like kind of if you instead of having lots of different items, if that makes sense, like because like like minimalism and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That truly clears the clutter in your brain. If you're a minimalist, you have more time to think about the things that truly matter than spending that extra minute selecting what outfit you're going to wear that day. It's like minimalists sort of appreciate what you should spend your brain power on the most. I think that's a good takeaway that we can take from the people that practice those things.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's always new things we can learn, isn't there? And apply to our lives. And I think what we've spoken about, all important that people should kind of adhere by.
Absolutely. I welcome any and all questions.
Yeah.
Anytime, if you guys have a question after this podcast, you can find me on Enfermera Marisol on Instagram. Adam, if you could please link it down in your description box.
Yeah, of course. I can sort that out. And any feedback, any questions or anything, then let us know. But it's been great having you back on, and I've really enjoyed talking to you.
This was really fun, Adam. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm honored to be here.
No, you too. You're welcome anytime, and I look forward to next time as well. Take care.
Alrighty.